Welcome to the Power of Food podcast. We are so excited to bring you evidence-based nutrition information focusing on addressing the root cause for imbalance. Food has the power to help you achieve lifelong optimal health without the side effects of prescription medication. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. I am Stacy Seslowski, functional nutrition registered dietitian.
And I am Leah Grace Barrick, functional nutritionist.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Food podcast. I'm Stacy Seslowski. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today, Terry Tateossian. Terry's journey is particularly relevant for women in the perimenopausal and postmenopausal phases, a time when the body undergoes significant changes that can often feel insurmountable. Her success story is a testament to the fact that the right mindset, tools, and support it is possible to reclaim one's health and vitality during and after these transitional years. Furthermore, as a busy entrepreneur and a mother of two, Terry deeply understands the challenges of managing a business, family life, and personal health. Her story speaks directly to women who are trying to balance it all, providing practical insights and strategies to prioritize their well-being amidst the chaos of daily life. What makes Terry's narrative incredibly relatable and inspiring is not just her remarkable weight loss, but her holistic approach to wellness, which encompasses mental, emotional, and physical health. She emphasizes the importance of self-care, resilience, and the pursuit of health as a continuous journey rather than a destination. Welcome to the Power of Food podcast, Terry.
Thank you, Stacy, for having me. And hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here and chat about this really important topic.
I am too. I am so interested to hear more about your story, kind of what led you to kind of where you are today, and give us some information about what you're actually doing these days.
Yes. So at the time when I began this journey, I felt extremely unique. I felt like I was the only person experiencing burnout, overwhelm, weight gain, uncontrollable weight gain, stress. I would look around and not really see anyone or even hear anybody talk about a lot of what I was feeling. And so I started this journey in silence, really. I started trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with me. Why am I always tired? Why can't I lose weight? Why am I gaining weight uncontrollably? Why do I not have the energy to go out and do the things I used to do? Why is my behavior so different and non-characteristic all of a sudden? Why was I so moody, cranky? Why couldn't I sleep? All these things, right? And I was at about 37 when all of these things started happening. And I thought I was the only one. And what I've discovered in the last 10 years is that I am absolutely not the only one. There is nothing unique or special about me. And we are all experiencing these things in deafening silence. And what I began to do at around 36, 37, I began to experience health issues. I was hospitalized twice in the ER for what I believed were heart attacks, but they were actually extreme panic attacks. I was having ovarian cysts popping up. I was abusing alcohol because I was, in a sense, self-medicating. And a lot of other issues, pre-diabetic markers. I would get dizzy in the middle of the day. I would have insomnia, all kinds of things, right? And I could not figure out what to do. I didn't know what was happening. I no clue, right? Like a lot of us. And so I went to a regular physician and they had no answers. They did not have an answer in the ER either. They said, it's all in your head. I will never forget that. They told me it is all in your head. And I'm like, how could this all be in my head? I'm not feeling well. And yeah, they gave me a Xanax. They sent me home. I had to go to cardiologists and all these other things. They did find a heart murmur, but it wasn't related to anything. And so I started approaching the non-mainstream route. I went to a holistic integrative doctor. And one of the most fascinating things happened at the time. I had never had a physician or a doctor ask me 2 hours worth of questions. And the questions spanned all the way to my grandmother's pregnancy.
Wow.
And at one point, I didn't understand why I had to answer these questions. Right? I was like, well, what does this have to do with what's happening to me right now? And that's when she explained that my cells in some form existed in my grandmother's womb when she was pregnant with my mother. And all of those experiences help shape us and form us in a way that we probably don't really understand. And I went through my entire background of being a refugee from a communist country at 11, living in Austria for 2 years in a refugee camp, coming to the United States at 13, really working really hard for many years. If you're familiar or you know anybody from a direct immigrant background, work and education are one of the top priorities. And so that's what I did until I was about 37 and burned and crashed and burned.
Amazing. There's so many pieces of that I want to to understand more about and ask questions. And that background and your childhood is so fascinating and absolutely playing a role in not only how you feel now, but probably your children and their children to come. So really, I thought I go far back when I interview my patients and I ask them to start in their childhood, but I've never asked them to go as far back as their grandparents, but which we should be doing, right? Because of epigenetics and how much that is playing a role in our health. But also just the fact that it's funny that we all think we're out here alone feeling these symptoms, and that every single woman our age is feeling them. And yet we think we're the only ones. So thank you for verbalizing it all and advocating for yourself, because I think too many of us just go back home after going to the doctor and finding out it must be in my head and kind of live with that. So tell me, what were some of the steps that you started to take when you realized this wasn't just in your head? What were some of the things that you felt like you needed to do to kind of feel better?
So the integrative holistic doctor and I together came to the conclusion that I need to lose about 80 pounds. I was 210 pounds at the time, but I'm 5'3". So that was a significant amount of weight that I was gaining uncontrollably. It was just like every time I turn around, there were another 5 pounds on. And I thought there was something literally physically wrong with me that was causing me to gain this weight. And she said, no, it's not how it works. You're not special. There's nothing different about you. You can lose this weight. And up to that point, if you can imagine, I probably had done about 30 diets trying to lose weight before, and it not working, because every time I'd lose a little bit of weight, I gained more. I'd lose a little bit of weight, I gained more. And so it was this vicious cycle of always being on a diet, losing a little bit, and then ending up weighing more than when I first started after I stopped the diet, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was me. I said, I told her, I said, everyone seems to be fine, except I'm always gaining all this weight back. And so we unpacked that entire circumstance. And I was told, you're not special. You're not alone. This is pretty normal. And you need to lose weight. And I decided at the time that no diets were working. They just weren't working. So I was going to do my own thing. I was going to invent my own plan. And I did. I ended up losing 30 pounds completely by myself through what I considered an extreme exercise regimen and a very haphazard, probably malnutrition diet plan. And I dropped 30 pounds, and then I was so afraid. Oh, and I'll tell you what I did. I bought a Peloton bike, and initially I started riding it for 45 minutes a day. And then I slowly started increasing how many classes I would do per day. And as I got more fit, I was able to do 2 classes a day. Sometimes I'd throw in a third. And oh yeah, it was about 2 hours and 15 minutes, I believe, per day that I would ride my bike, which, I mean, when I think about it now, it's not that much. There's athletes that, do 50-mile bike rides a day, and it's about the same. But my nutrition is where things got a little wonky. So I decided I was going to eat nothing but salads for however long it took me. So I did that. I lost weight. And then I was terrified because my past experience was that as soon as I would lose the weight, I'd gain it right back. I lost some. And I was terrified. I was waiting for the shoe to drop, right? And I said to myself, well, this time I'm not going to let that happen. I'm actually going to go and ask for help. And I found a coach who was a specialist in bodybuilding, fitness, and macros, it turned out. It wasn't any particular type of diet per se. It was the everything diet, right? So when you break down your macronutrients, you can pretty much eat whatever you want as long as you meet certain quantities. And I went on this journey of, I call it getting a nutritional PhD, because in order to do macros, you need to know a lot of things, right? And with the help of my coach, I was able to lose another 50 pounds and maintain it.
Yeah, it's almost like we have to focus more on getting enough food rather than restricting and cutting out. It's like, can I actually get the amount of protein that my body needs? Can I meet these macronutrient, goals versus can I, cut my calories in half and all of that? And I think that is one of the biggest lessons that women in our age group need to learn. And it's also one of the hardest for us to learn, because it has been so brainwashed into our minds that this is all about how much less can we eat, how much more can we exercise, right? Calories in, calories out. And when we really get down to the way that our metabolism works, the way that we respond to exercise, the way that we perform in our workouts and then build muscle and lean body mass, it really has so much less to do, almost nothing to do with cutting calories and eating less. And it's more to do with getting enough nutrition so that we can get stronger and healthier, right?
Exactly. And this is what I have come to recognize as caloric restriction without malnutrition. And that second part was what was missing for 10 years of my life. I was doing caloric deficit, caloric restriction with massive malnutrition.
Absolutely.
And now that I look back, because now, I've gone into the field, I'm helping other women do what I was able to do. And I'm seeing how it makes sense, because when you go on a rigid, strict diet, and there's so many of them out there, I'm not even going to get into them, but my favorite one is drink celery juice all day for 30 days. Yeah, you're going to drop weight, but you're going to come out of it extremely malnourished.
Yeah.
And what your body's going to do is it's going to try to get as many calories in as possible. When you come out of such an extreme deficit and then you introduce 2,000 calories into your day, guess what's going to happen? Your body has adapted to 300 calories a day, 500 calories a day, whatever it is, and it's going to store it all as fat. You're going to gain it back a lot faster. And that's the cycle I was in, but I did not understand, because I did not have the education or the information to understand what my body was doing, which really blows my mind at the end of the day, how we don't know how our own bodies work.
Mm-hmm. I know. Well, we weren't taught. We really weren't taught. It's so unfair. And I think things are slowly changing, and we're starting to get the fair share of research and information that we need to learn. But it's a slow process for sure. So where do you start with? You are you seeing people like do you what does your process look like?
In terms of clients?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I have a community of about 40 women that are working with me. I am taking on 1 or 2 clients as clients complete their programs. But it's usually 1 or 2 slots open up per month. But I'm fully booked. It's amazing because women really resonate with this message. They resonate with how the program is structured. And the way that we start is really, it's extremely bio-individual. And it's extremely dependent on where you're currently at, meaning both for your fitness and for your nutrition. So for example, let's say someone comes to me and they say, well, I need to lose 40 pounds. My first question is, well, what is your current caloric intake? Track it. Food report. I need to know where you're at. Are you eating 400 calories a day, or are you eating 4,000 calories a day, right? So we need to determine where you're currently at and set up a baseline. The same thing happens with physical training, strength training specifically. So there's a physical assessment. What are you able to currently do? Have you been doing weight training in the past? Are you just starting out? So the programs are very different depending on where the person is at and what is achievable, right? There are some people that maybe their first challenge will be just to get their steps in the first week.
I love that you focus on strength training, obviously, because that is where we do need to focus our attention. Like I remember a time when women only did cardio, right? And strength training was just for men. And as we go through perimenopause and menopause, one of the things that we start to become less that we have deficiencies in is an ability to maintain lean body mass. And when we can maintain muscle and bone, we can prevent all the chronic conditions that we're at risk for. So diabetes and heart disease and Alzheimer's disease and osteoporosis. And when we maintain muscle, we burn fat. So that really should be our, biggest focus in these years. Would you agree with that?
100%. Lean muscle mass is the holy grail.
I totally agree. I say this probably 30 times a day, every day, to everyone that I speak to. And I still get sometimes that response of, well, I don't want to be, big and bulky. I really just want to be lean and little and these kind of things. And how do you respond to something like that?
I can almost guarantee you, if you're out there and you want to be tiny and skinny and lean, I can almost guarantee you, I'll give you my phone number. If I'm wrong, text me, I'll send you $100. If you work out and you lift weights and you build muscle and you feel your strength and your power and you see how differently you feel, you will look back at your past self that wanted to be tiny, skinny, scrawny, whatever all those terms are. Mm-hmm. And you will say to your past self, man, we were missing out. We should have started this a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Because the shape of your body is going to change when you have strong, supple muscle on your frame. You're going to feel different. You're going to have a much better balanced mood. You're going to sleep better. You're going to be able to eat more food.
Absolutely. There's no reason why we have to be at that table with our, our male partners, and they get to eat as much as they want, and we have to sit there with these like little portion sizes. It's just too unfair for us, I think. But you're right, and I also think when we think about women and in even older ages, 50s, 60s, 70s, and we see like sarcopenia, we see women kind of like shrinking a little. Like that's the last thing. We don't want that. We want to get stronger. We don't want to get weaker,
And it is possible. At any age. There really is no limitation to being able to build muscle if you are training properly, right? So there's a wide variety of training programs out there. When we say exercise, it could mean anything, right? It could mean a brisk walk in the park, a very difficult running session. It could be uphill Stairmaster. It could be Pilates. It could be yoga. I mean, there's so many variations of exercise. What I'm talking about is very specifically strength training with progressive overload. So meaning lifting weights in a very precise, strategic way that targets specific muscles and repeating those boring exercises every day and progressing and adding more weight, which is a signal that you are getting stronger. And if you're getting stronger, then your body is adapting and building muscle tissue, right? So that's what we're looking for, not random exercises that we pull up on YouTube and we do a different one every day, or one day we do yoga, one day we do Pilates, one day we run. That's all great. I love all that stuff. But what I'm talking about specifically is progressive overload with strength training in a strategically, intelligently designed program.
100%, right? So there's like moves that we just have to keep repeating and get heavier and heavier and heavier. And I think that's another area that women are less informed about, right? We think that we can do these kind of exercises that we follow on YouTube with 5-pound weights, and as long as we're getting it in every day, then that's what that should do it. But you're absolutely right. Like, in order for us to truly build and maintain that lean body mass, we need to lift heavy weights. And
yes.
women are scared of that, I think.
Yes. And heavy weights is relative, right? So what could be heavy to me, maybe like a mosquito to somebody else, right? So it really depends, right? So when I say to my clients, heavy weights, it's relative to where they're at. So some people feel 5 pounds is too heavy, or just heavy enough, and they can't progress from there. But then 3 weeks later, they're on the 20-pounder weights, right? And so you start in a place where you feel you are at a rate of perceived exertion of 8. What that means is whatever the prescribed number of reps are that you have in the program, let's say it's 10, you pick a weight that you can do 12 with that weight. And if somebody said, I'll give you $1 million if you do one more rep, you can do it. But only 1 or 2 more. That's it. If you can do another 10, then that's for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a really great advice. So do you do the workouts with your clients? Like, is this virtual? Is this in person? What does that look like?
So I do both. I do in-person retreats at a retreat center in Tennessee, which is thehouseofrose.com. And then I help people virtually, because people come from all over the United States to the retreats, and then they want to continue their journey. And so I will work with them virtually for years, really.
Amazing. How many times of a year do you do your retreats?
So we started doing retreats last year. We were doing 1 per month, and that was the inaugural year of the House of Rose. And this year we've been doing 2, sometimes 3 retreats per month. And they run between March and October. So anybody's welcome to come and train in person, learn the basics, learn the fundamentals, meet other women in midlife that are going through the same journey, make some friends, do some yoga, eat some great food, hike, do all that kind of stuff, and go home with a new and renewed type of perspective on what is possible, because sometimes we have to see it with our own eyes in order to believe that all the stuff we see on Instagram and social media is not Photoshopped, it's not, made up stuff. This is real, and this gives you the ability to see that and feel it and understand what your body should feel like when you're working at the right exertion rate and the intensity. And so it's very exciting to do both in person and online coaching.
I love that. That sounds so amazing, because it's the community too. It's not just the activity and the food, but it's also just doing it with other people and knowing you're not alone, and cheering each other on, and I think that's amazing. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit, because I'm curious. How do you think, like, what do you think, or do you give advice about like hormone replacement? Do you feel in the years of perimenopause and menopause, do you think like that's an obstacle that people are experiencing that really does hold them back from being able to improve?
Yes, so I'm going to give you my theory.
Yeah.
And if this applies to any medication. Ozempic, metformin.
I love it. I can't wait to hear this.
All of it. Every
Okay.
single medication, anything that is synthetic that you will become dependent on for the rest of your life.
Okay.
The way that I feel is, have you tapped out everything before taking the HRT or Ozempic? Have you done everything you possibly can? Have you modified your behavior? Have you changed your habits? Have you worked on your mindset? Have you tried strength training? Have you tried walking? Have you tried changing your sleep patterns? There's a million things that you can do before you grab the meds. How did that go? Did that improve your life?
Right.
Did that improve your symptoms? How about food? What are you eating? Right? So the things that we used to do when we were 20, most likely we're not going to get away with those things in our 40s. Our body has changed, right? But our habits and our mindset and our behavior has probably stayed stagnant. And so we're expecting to feel the same way as we did when we were 20, when we're 40, when our body's changing completely, right? So a lot of fluctuations are happening. We're going through our second adolescence in a sense, right? Yes. And so have you done the work to help yourself have a better lifestyle and better symptoms? If you feel you have tapped everything out and there's still a significant downshift to your lifestyle and your well-being, then absolutely, I think what we currently have available to us as far as medications and other procedures and things like that are a great way to enhance our life. And they're also and they're also great for bridging the gap, for example. Right? So if there's something that is happening that needs to be addressed immediately, obviously that makes sense, but look at it as a bridge to give you enough time and space to make changes to your habits, your behaviors, and your mindset. And then don't look at it as a forever thing. Try to reduce as much as possible your dependence on synthetic agents. That's generally my perspective. However, there's always exceptions, right? So there are outliers out there, people that have had hysterectomies, for example, early on in life. I mean, should we ban HRT? I mean, should we not offer that to women that in their 30s have had a hysterectomy? I mean, that to me makes no sense. But
right. Yeah. And I think there is some research to show that, like, especially if you're using bioidentical hormone replacement, that we, can get benefits of like the improved bone health and possibly reduce risk for things like heart disease and Alzheimer's disease and even breast cancer. And unfortunately, we were given like some not so great information when everybody based their recommendations on that big study that was done in 2000, the Women's Health
Right.
Initiative. But that science is still really evolving, and we don't really have any definites, and we don't know if it's going to be health promoting for everybody, or if there are risks that we just, possibly for some people. So I love that thought process, because even if we end up needing or wanting the help of the hormone replacement or some type of medication, those foundational diet and lifestyle strategies are essential for long-term health, no matter what we end up needing to take. So I think taking a look at those and doing everything possible, to use the things at our fingertips, the low-hanging fruit, the diet and lifestyle, the mindset, the sleep, stress, all the things are just absolutely essential, probably way more important than anything we could ever do with medicine. So
Yes,
completely.
nutrition it's really mind-blowing what a great nutritional habit will do for your health.
Yeah.
And I challenge and invite anyone listening to this to try it for 30 days. Eat whole foods, nothing in a box, nothing in a container, nothing in a wrapper. Reduce protein powders, reduce protein bars, even if they say healthy. Try to eat things that are coming from the earth. Try to eat things that are locally grown, seasonal, and be creative. Create meals that you really love to eat, and you can eat them on repeat every single day. You could create something that you can't wait to have in the morning, and you repeat that every day for your breakfast, and that streamlines your meals. It makes it easier to stick to the plan. But I invite you, try it for 30 days. Let me know how you feel, because it blew my mind. I couldn't believe how much nutrition contributed to health.
Absolutely. I was going, and I still will ask you for a couple of little strategies that you could recommend to our audience that they can implement today to start improving their health. But that one, I don't think anything tops it, right? Choosing whole, unprocessed foods. That is the number one recommendation I make to everyone that I speak to. So thank you for that one. Any other strategies that you would like to suggest to our listeners?
Absolutely. Something really easy is increase your step count every day. Get at least 8 to 10,000 steps per day. Move as much as possible. Find joy in it. Challenge yourself to do different things and get more movement. That's the easiest thing you can do immediately, right? And it's really obvious. It's really obvious, and most of us don't do it.
Yeah.
Find a buddy, compare your notes at the end of the week, see who got more steps. Whoever got more steps wins a prize, or I don't know, make it fun, right?
Yeah.
And the third thing is 100% strength training. There's
Love it.
strategic, not random, not something different every day, a very strategically designed strength lifting program, and learn the boring stuff. Get really good at the most boring lifts and watch your life change.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. I hope everybody is listening today and starts to take some of those recommendations into account. I'm personally going to check out the information that you share about your retreats, because they sound like so much fun. But if you want to share with people not only where to find you, but anything you have coming up that you want to share with our audience.
Absolutely. You can find me on www.thehouseofrose.com. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle is How Good Can It Get? Because we're still looking. We're not done. And some exciting projects I have in the works is I've been so inspired by the women that I work with, and I discovered I'm not alone. So I want to tell every woman's story out there that has triumphed over this beast we call perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and show that it's not that scary. it's actually pretty easy to wrap our heads around it. And as a collective, we can triumph over it. And so I'm creating a docuseries of women that have triumphed over a lot of obstacles that are unimaginable and come out the other side. So I'm super excited about that. We already filmed the first episode and it's in editing. So excited.
So exciting. Where is that going to be shown?
Everywhere. And we're planning on getting it onto Amazon Prime as well. So
wow, amazing, amazing. I can't wait to hear more about that. Thank you so much for visiting. I think you shared such important information that every woman should be hearing. So I really do appreciate it. And I know our listeners do as well.
Thank you, Stacey. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, we'd love if you left a rating and review and shared it with someone else who would find it helpful. You can find more information about Leah at gracefunctionalnutrition.com and get in touch with her through email at leah@gracefunctionalnutrition.com or on Instagram at gracefunctionalnutrition. To find more information about Stacey, you can find her at healfromfood.com, email her at stacey@healfromfood, or on social media at healfromfood. See you next time.